They say in divorce, you should be the bigger person. Take the high road. Be the adult. You know what I say to that? I say sometimes you gotta let him run straight off a cliff. And maybe, just maybe, you give him a little push along the way. Look, I've always been a pretty calm guy. A quiet guy. You know, the type who just handles things. Fixes problems. My soon-to-be ex-wife, Natalie, she mistook that for weakness. She thought because I didn't yell, didn't scream, didn't make a scene, that I was a pushover, that she could just bulldoze me and I'd just roll over and take it. She thought she was playing chess, and I wasn't even at the table. She was so wrong. This whole thing started 2 months ago, out of nowhere. Or, you know, maybe not out of nowhere, but it sure felt like it at the time. We'd been married for 8 years. No kids. We had a nice house. I'm 38, she's 36. I work in logistics, she's in pharma sales. We both made decent money. I was at about 85K, she was closer to 95. Life was fine. It was comfortable, stable. Then one night, she just dropped it. I want a divorce. Just like that. No preamble, no we need to talk, no nothing. Just a statement. A final, cold, done deal kind of statement. I was stunned. I asked if she wanted to talk, maybe go to counseling. She just shook her head. No, I'm done. I'm taking everything. And that's when it got interesting. She went on this whole monologue about her lawyer. My lawyer's Mitchell Graves. He's ruthless. He's an assassin. He says because of my higher income and your financial irresponsibility, I'll get the house, the investments, everything. You should just accept whatever I offer. Financial irresponsibility. Can you believe that? Her reasoning for me being financially irresponsible was a motorcycle I bought last year with my own bonus money. An $8,000 motorcycle. The audacity. It was just breathtaking. I just looked at her, and I said, okay, I'll get my own lawyer. She actually laughed. A real, full-throated laugh. Good luck affording anyone decent after Mitchell's done with you, she said. That was her biggest mistake. Underestimating me. Assuming I was just going to sit there and let her run me over. Because what she didn't know was I was already 2 steps ahead of her. See, I had a feeling things were going south. A gut feeling. The way she'd been acting, the way she was so distant. So I'd already reached out to a buddy from college, Jerome. He'd recommended a lawyer. Her name was Victoria Hicks. And during our first consultation, she mentioned something that just made me stop breathing for a second. She and Mitchell Graves? They were study partners in law school. Knew each other really well. She said, he's aggressive, sure, but he's sloppy. He likes to intimidate more than litigate. I've seen him in action. He's all bark, no bite. When Natalie served me the papers, I officially retained Victoria. And that's when things went from a slow-moving train wreck to a full-on collision course. Natalie, in her arrogance, had no idea she was about to get a lesson in the difference between being loud and being smart. Her first move was just so petty and so telling. I came home from work one day, and my key didn't work. The lock for changed. My stuff was in boxes on the porch in the rain. My clothes, my books, my laptop bag. My life just sitting there getting soaked. I saw her sister's car in the driveway, and I could hear them laughing inside. I called Victoria. She told me to document everything. I took pictures of the soaked boxes, the locksmith receipt Natalie had carelessly left behind, the whole scene. My neighbor's security footage even caught Natalie and her sister laughing as they put my belongings outside. Victoria was practically giddy. This is perfect, she said. She filed an emergency motion the very next day. The judge was not amused. He ordered Natalie to give me immediate access to the house and gave her a stern warning about self-help eviction. But Natalie? She didn't learn. She doubled down, started posting vague stuff on social media about surviving toxic relationships, accused me of being abusive. I just screenshot it all and stayed silent, exactly like Victoria told me to. Let her dig her own hole, Victoria said. The deeper she goes, the harder she falls. Then came their settlement proposal. And I have to tell you, it was a work of fiction, a masterpiece of greed. The proposal said she gets the house, the majority of the investments, and I pay her spousal support, despite our similar incomes. Her reasoning? A spreadsheet listing my unnecessary purchases. My motorcycle, my golf clubs, my gaming computer, all normal purchases over 8 years, but they were presented like I was some kind of shopping addict. Victoria just laughed when she saw it. "He's reaching," she said. "This is actually good for us. Mitchell's trying to win a fight he can't win. He's bluffing, and now we get to call his bluff." She explained that Mitchell often took cases on contingency when he smelled money. He'd probably promised Natalie everything to get the case, and now he had to deliver or eat the costs. Our response was simple. Clean, fair, 50-50 split. Sell the house, split the proceeds. We each keep our own retirement. Natalie's response was to have Mitchell file a motion claiming I was hiding assets. A completely baseless claim. But it was the exact kind of sloppy, aggressive move Victoria had warned me about. And it was the exact move I had been waiting for. Because in divorce, as in life, you don't always win by playing fair. Sometimes you win by letting the other person think they've already won, right before you checkmate them. And that's when I played my first real card. Natalie, in her arrogance, had decided to play a game of chicken with a freight train. Mitchell's motion, the one claiming I was hiding assets, had triggered full financial discovery, and he probably thought he was being so clever. He'd find some minor discrepancy, something I'd forgotten about, and then he'd have me. But Victoria and I knew better. We were waiting for this. We were hoping for this. Because what Natalie didn't know was that while she was busy trying to find a non-existent smoking gun in my finances, her own financial history was about to be put under a microscope. And it was a mess. The discovery was a work of art. Natalie had this little habit she thought I didn't know about. A separate credit card she'd opened up a few years ago. She told me it was for emergencies. I never pressed. We had mostly separate finances anyway, and I figured fine, whatever. But in a divorce, there are no secrets. All financial records come out. And that card was a gold mine. A $28,000 gold mine of debt. We're talking multiple spa weekends with her sister. $12,000 on designer bags and shoes. But here's the kicker. $3,000 in charges at high-end restaurants and hotels. Charges from dates I wasn't on. Victoria was ecstatic. She was just beside herself. She's been claiming financial superiority while hiding massive debt and questionable spending, she said, her voice a little too gleeful. This is perfect. Absolutely perfect. And then I told her about my secret. Remember how Natalie had accused me of financial irresponsibility? Well, I've been keeping something too. Not debt. Not a secret credit card. It was a separate investment account. I'd started it before we got married, with an inheritance from my grandmother. It was $45,000. Completely separate property. Legal. Untouchable. I had never commingled it with our shared funds. I had never mentioned it to Natalie because it wasn't her business. It wasn't marital property. But she had assumed my silence meant I had nothing. When Victoria heard that, she just smiled. A slow, Cheshire cat kind of smile. So, he files an aggressive motion about you hiding assets. We find Natalie's hidden debt and her questionable spending. And we also reveal your completely legal, separate property that she knows nothing about, painting her as the financially irresponsible one. Mitchell's plan is backfiring in spectacular fashion. And it got even better. The depositions. Natalie's deposition was a disaster. Victoria grilled her about the credit card charges, the hotel stays, the timing of her little shopping sprees. Natalie kept claiming they were all business expenses, which, is the kind of flimsy excuse a middle schooler would use. Victoria just kept pushing. These stays at the Grandview Hotel, always on Tuesday afternoons. Business meetings? Yes. With whom? Various pharmaceutical contacts. Names? I don't recall specifically. You don't recall who you had $3,000 worth of business meetings with? The court reporter later told Victoria it was the most uncomfortable deposition she'd ever recorded. And my deposition? Mitchell tried to paint me as controlling and secretive about money. But every question he asked just backfired. You never told your wife about this inheritance account. It was separate property from before our marriage. My attorney advised it was unnecessary. You think hiding money from your spouse is appropriate? I think following legal advice about separate property is appropriate. Unlike, say, hiding marital debt. Mitchell actually objected to his own question's answer. The judge overseeing the deposition almost laughed out loud. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. But the real bombshell, dropped when Victoria subpoenaed Natalie's work records. Those Tuesday afternoon business meetings? Her company requires expense reports for reimbursement. She'd never filed any. Oh, and the days she was at the Grand View Hotel? They matched up perfectly with days she'd called in sick to work. The whole house of cards was starting to collapse. And she didn't even see it coming. She was so focused on trying to paint me as this monster, this financial manipulator, that she completely forgot to cover her own tracks. And she was about to learn a very hard lesson about what happens when you play dirty with someone who has no problem reached peak delusion. After the depositions, after all of her lies had been exposed, after any sane person would have said, okay, fine, let's just take the 50-50 split and get this over with, Natalie decided to double down. Again, she was convinced Mitchell could still win in court. She was convinced she was right. And so she started what I can only describe as a campaign of financial terrorism. First, she canceled my phone plan. She was the account holder, so she just did it. Then she removed me from our joint streaming services, but somehow kept charging them to my credit card. And my mail? She had her mail forwarded to her sister's house, but managed to accidentally have mine forwarded there too. Each petty act, each little violation of the court's standing order documented. Victoria was just smiling wider with every new email I sent her. But the crown jewel, the absolute masterpiece of her entitlement, came when she tried to sell my motorcycle. Remember, the one she'd called financially irresponsible, the one I bought with my own bonus money, the one that was in my name only? Well, I went over to the house one Saturday just to check on things and found a for sale sign on it. It was listed on some online marketplace for $5,000, $3,000 below what it was worth. And a potential buyer was standing there. Hey, he said when I walked up, you hear about the bike? I own the bike, I said. Lady inside said it was her ex's and she got it in the divorce, he said, looking confused. Divorce isn't final. She has no right to sell it, I said, and I pulled out my phone and showed him the registration, which was in my name. The guy just looked at me, then at the house, then back at me, and left. Smart one. Natalie came storming out. You just cost me a sale. You just committed attempted theft, I said a little too calmly. The bike is in my name. Bought with my money. You have no right to sell it. Your lawyer should know that. She actually called Mitchell right there and then put him on speaker, probably thinking he was going to intimidate me into backing down. I just stood there and waited. Mr. Davidson, you're interfering with the liquidation of marital assets. Mitchell's voice boomed from the speaker. Victoria, who happened to be with me, just smiled, grabbed my phone, and put herself on speaker. Mitchell, Victoria Rix, are you advising your client to sell property titled solely in my client's name without court authority? There was a long silence on the other end. Victoria, we were under the impression. You were under the impression you could intimidate my client. We're filing a motion for sanctions. Attempted conversion of separate property, violation of the standing order, harassment. Shall I continue? He hung up. Just hung up. Natalie stood there, mouth open. The color just drained from her face. Your lawyer, knows Mitchell. Law school classmates, I said. Actually, has she what? Shared privileged information? She stammered, her voice a whisper. Of course not, Victoria said, a little too sweetly. That would be unethical. Unlike, say, advising a client to steal property. That's when Natalie finally broke. She just lost it. She physically pushed me hard. I stumbled back, catching myself on the door frame. Victoria, bless her, caught the whole thing on her phone. That's assault, Victoria said, her voice still unervingly calm. Would you like to continue, Natalie? Natalie didn't say another word. She ran inside, slammed the door, and that was the last time she ever tried to play after the motorcycle incident and the assault. Mitchell knew he was cooked. He'd advised illegal actions. His client had committed assault on camera. The financial discovery painted Natalie as a lying, cheating, financially reckless spouse with hidden debt. He had nothing, so they requested mediation. But here's where it gets beautiful. Remember that contingency fee arrangement I suspected Mitchell had? He'd gambled on a big, easy win, and he'd lost. He'd sunk too much time and resources into this mess, and every delay cost him more money. He needed this to end, and Victoria knew it, so she played hardball. Our new proposal in mediation was not so generous. Natalie sells the house. The proceeds first go to paying off her hidden credit card debt. Then we split what's left. We each keep our retirement accounts, and I get to keep my separate inheritance account untouched. And because of Natalie's bad faith conduct, she pays my legal fees. Mitchell just lost it. "This is extortion," he yelled. The mediator, a retired judge, just looked at him over his glasses. "Counselor," he said, his voice flat, "your client committed assault, attempted theft, and hid marital debt while claiming financial superiority. I think this seems generous." The final deal was signed that day. The house sold, Natalie's debt was paid off from her share of the proceeds, and we each got about $45,000. Retirement accounts stayed separate. My inheritance account was safe. And as for legal fees, we each paid our own. Mitchell probably ate $30,000 in fees. He got nothing. Natalie got nothing. I got everything that was rightfully mine. But the best part, the absolute best part, was after we signed the final paperwork. Natalie couldn't help herself. She had to have the last word. "You know," she said, looking at me with this kind of venomous smirk, "Mitchell told me everything. Victoria shared your whole strategy with him. That's the only reason you got anything." Victoria and I exchanged glances. Then, so calmly, she pulled out her phone. She showed Natalie a text exchange with Mitchell from 3 months ago, right after I'd retained her. "Mitchell, hey, Vic got a case against someone named Davidson. Know anything? I'm representing him. See you in court. Oh, good luck. You too, you'll need it." That was the entire communication. "You see, Natalie," Victoria said, her voice dripping with a satisfaction I will never forget. "Mitchell and I know each other. He knows I don't bluff. He knows I document everything. And he knows I've beaten him 3 times before. He took your case for the money, promised you everything, and hoped I'd fold. When I didn't, he had no backup plan." Natalie turned to Mitchell, who was already packing his briefcase. "You said you could destroy him." "I said I'd do my best," he said, not even looking at her. "Your conduct made that impossible." "My conduct? You told me to. I advised you of options. You chose your actions." And then he just left, walked out, leaving his client standing there, speechless. Natalie looked at me, tears starting to form. You planned this?" "No, Natalie," I said. "You planned this. You planned this when you decided I was a pushover you could bulldoze. I just refused to be bulldozed. That was 6 weeks ago. The house sold last week. I got my check." Natalie's been posting on social media about new beginnings and learning who your real friends are. Apparently, her sister got tired of her staying there. Her secret credit card debt ate up most of her house proceeds. And the guy from the Tuesday afternoon hotel meetings? He found out she was suddenly single and broke and disappeared. Me? I bought a small condo near work. Still have my motorcycle. My inheritance account is growing nicely. And Victoria and I, we grab a beer sometimes and just laugh about Mitchell's face during that phone call. He still practices law, but word got around about him advising illegal conduct, and his boutique firm quietly let him go. He's solo now, taking whatever cases he can get. Natalie kept texting me for a while, alternating between asking for money and calling me names. I blocked her after documenting everything for the restraining order Victoria helped me file. The entitlement never ended, even after losing everything she tried to take. Last I heard from a mutual friend, she's telling people I had an affair with my lawyer, and that's how I stole everything from her. Victoria is married to a woman named Helen. They've been together 12 years. But sure, Natalie, whatever helps you sleep at night. I learned a few lessons here. 1. When someone tells you they're going to destroy you, believe them and prepare accordingly. 2. Arrogance makes people sloppy. 3. The loudest person in the room rarely has the strongest position. 4. Document everything. 5. Good lawyers know the law. Great lawyers know other lawyers. And Mitchell, bless his heart, he texted me last week. Asked if I wanted to sue Natalie for defamation about the affair claims. I declined. Some victories aren't worth pursuing. I already won everything that mattered.